Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we are unpacking a massive narrative from an ancient text that honestly plays out like a summer blockbuster. We've got high-stakes royal archery contest, heroes in disguise, epic brawls, and a surprisingly tight debate about human worth. We're looking at a specific excerpt from the Vaivahika Parva. That's a chapter from the ancient Indian epic, the Mahabharata. And the setup here is that a seemingly impossible physical challenge has just been completed, but, well, the real drama, it's just getting started. So I really want you to keep this core philosophical question in the back of your mind as we go. Does a hero's merit, like what they can actually do, matter more than their birth, their status, or even just how they're dressed? Because this question sits right at the very heart of today's source material. Even though this text is thousands of years old, it is wrestling with the exact same tensions between pure meritocracy and inherited status that we are still arguing about today.
Section 1. The mysterious victor. A hero emerges.
All right, picture this. You've got an arena packed with the absolute greatest kings and warriors of the age. There's this seemingly impossible archery mark set way up high, and everyone is fully expecting some famous royal to win the beautiful princess, Krishna. But instead, an absolute unknown steps up and actually pulls it off. And the aftermath is just total chaos. Dhrishtadyumna rushes back to tell his father, the king, exactly what he just witnessed. And this brilliantly illustrates the immediate visual shock of the whole scene. Just look at the stark contrast here. On one side, you have the victor's appearance, right? He's a youth with large red eyes, dressed in nothing but humble deerskin. He basically looks like a wandering ascetic, a complete nobody. But then, on the other side, consider his actions. Dhrishtadyumna says he resembled the thunder-wielding god Indra when he strung that foremost of bows and brought down the mark. Naturally, the kings are furious. I mean, they literally cannot stomach the sight of this nobody claiming the ultimate prize.
So the furious assembled monarchs rise up in wrath to attack the victor, and the scene just explodes into epic cinematic violence. Read this quote with me. Another hero tearing up a large tree rushed at that concourse of kings, felling them right and left like Yama. Now, Yama is the god of death. So out of absolutely nowhere, a second disguised man steps up to defend the archer, uproots a literal giant tree from the ground, and just starts swatting away these elite kings like they're flies. The sheer shock of this raw power completely paralyzes the assembled kings. They are left entirely motionless. And, seizing the moment, the archer, the tree-wielding hero, and the princess slip away from the amphitheater.
Which brings us to Section 2, Heroes in Disguise. Now the prince, Dhrishtadyumna, is no fool. He knows these guys aren't your average peasants. So he quietly follows them out to the suburbs of the town, tracking them to a humble potter's house. And what follows is basically a fascinating ancient surveillance operation. The prince is watching them, and what he sees is an incredibly disciplined routine. First, in the evening, other men arrive, having returned from begging for alms, which was a pretty common practice for ascetics. Then, at dusk, the princess takes the alms, offers a portion to the gods, and gives another away in charity. After that, she shares the rest with a venerable lady, who the prince assumes is their mother, and the 5 heroes, taking just a little bit for herself last of all. And finally, late at night, they sleep on simple deerskins spread over kusa grass, with the princess resting at their feet. This highly structured, pious, and deeply respectful behavior, it immediately signals to the prince that these are individuals of immense discipline and high culture, just hiding out in a potter's hut. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the brilliant detective work the prince lays out for his father. He presents the undeniable evidence. First, before going to sleep, he overheard these men talking in voices deep as black clouds. And what exactly were they chatting about? Their discourse was entirely on military subjects. You combine this with the sheer superhuman strength they showed in the arena, stringing that impossible bow and fighting with an actual tree, and the prince concludes they are absolutely not of the merchant class, the servant class, or even the priestly brahmana class. No, they are bulls amongst Kshatriyas, the noble warrior caste. And then the prince delivers this massive, story-altering conclusion to his father. He states definitively, "They are the sons of Pritha, wandering in disguise, escaped from the conflagration of the House of Lac." Now for the king, this is explosive news. The sons of Pritha, the famous Pandava brothers, were widely believed to have burned to death in a tragic fire in a house made of highly flammable lac. But the prince has just deduced that the greatest heroes of the realm are not only alive, but, well, one of them has just won the princess.
Section 3. The King's Inquiry. Seeking confirmation. So, hearing this report,
King Drupada is exceedingly glad. I mean, his joy knows no bounds. But the stakes are way too high for him to just guess. He needs absolute, undeniable confirmation of who exactly is sleeping in that potter's house. So he sends his most trusted royal priest to deliver a message to the heroes. And this message basically lays all the political and personal hopes right on the table. The priest says, King Pandu was the dear friend of Drupada. King Drupada hath all along cherished this desire in his heart, that Arjuna of strong and long arms might wed this daughter of his. Basically, if the man in the deerskin is indeed the legendary archer Arjuna, son of Pandu, it would be the ultimate dream come true for the king. It would be beneficial, it would bring fame, and it aligns perfectly with his lifelong desires. The priest finishes this highly emotional plea and just waits humbly for an answer. Now, pay close attention to the response here. It doesn't come from the archer or the tree-wielding giant. It actually comes from the eldest brother, Yudhishthira. And his first instinct, it isn't to brag. It isn't to whip off his disguise and reveal their identities. No, it is pure, composed protocol. He says to his brother, let water to wash his feet with, and the arghya be offered unto this brahmana, the arghya being a traditional offering of respect. See, he recognizes the priest's high status and demands he be treated with extraordinary reverence. And it's only after the priest is seated comfortably that Yudhishthira launches into his defense.
Section 4. The defense of merit. A brilliant argument. I actually want to slow down here for a second, because what Yudhishthira does next is deliver an absolute masterclass in logic. It's a tight, undeniable, legal and philosophical defense of exactly what just went down in the arena. Let's look at the structure of his argument. He breaks it down step by step. First, he points out that the king did not give his daughter away freely. He attached a specific transactional dower, the archery challenge. Second, this hero, whoever he may be, fully satisfied that specific demand. He won fair and square. Third, therefore, the king has absolutely zero right to ask about the victor's race, tribe, family, or disposition after the fact. The transaction is complete. And fourth, no matter how much anyone might regret it, the physical act of shooting down that mark cannot be undone. So the crucial point is this. Once a prize is offered purely based on a test of skill, and that skill is met, the winner's background or lineage becomes entirely irrelevant. But Yudhishthira, he doesn't just stop at legal technicalities. He offers this beautiful piece of deductive reasoning to calm the king's anxieties. He says, none that is weak in strength could string that bow, and none of mean birth and unaccomplished in arms could have shot down the mark. He's basically arguing that the extreme difficulty of the test is the filter. The bow itself guarantees the nobility of the man who wields it. You don't need to ask for a resume or a family tree. The feat itself, the sheer impossible physics of it, proves his supreme worth and high birth.
And yet, just as Yudhishthira is finishing this brilliant mic-drop philosophical defense, reality interrupts. The source text notes that while he was still speaking, another messenger from the king arrives in a sudden rush. And his message is short, sweet, and right to the point. The nuptial feast is ready. It's this wonderful, almost abrupt transition in the text. The time for philosophical debate about merit and birth, yeah, that's officially over. The king has accepted the outcome, the logic holds up, and action must now follow. It's time for a royal wedding.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with the exact same question we started with, but maybe framed just a little differently. Can a prize fairly won by merit ever be undone by the expectations of the one who set the contest? King Drupada wanted a specific royal to win, right? But he got a man in deerskin. Yudhishthira's argument successfully defended the sanctity of merit over expectation. So as you look at the systems, the tests, and the contests in our own modern world, ask yourself, do we truly respect the results of merit? Or are we kind of like those angry kings in the amphitheater, a little too obsessed with the deerskin the victor is wearing? Take a minute to think about that. Thank you so much for joining me, and keep questioning the world around you.